What's up, everybody? Look, so I want to talk about Bill Cosby real quick, and look, before everybody jumps on the black man's being framed for horrible things and this and that, I just want to make a point to say that it doesn't really matter what your beliefs are. Um, this industry is predicated on predatorial ideals, and people in power that have power will use their influence to get what they want. Now, I'm not saying that the allegations specifically on hand legally are true about Bill Cosby or they're not, but what I'm saying is that it is a possibility that at some point during his career that he may have subjected one or more or whoever to this type of charges that he's being accused of. And why do I say that? We're seeing now more and more people come upon scrutination, and they're being charged with these types of things, and we know that they do happen. And so for people to think that, oh well, this is the first black one that has been brought up in public media to this extent, it must not be true. They must be just trying to crucify black people again. I would like you to just step aside and think for a minute and think about people in general. There are things that people don't know about you. There are things that people don't know about others, about people that you hold as your close friends. There are things that people ultimately don't know about each other. And all I'm saying is that in this case of Bill Cosby, nobody but probably the immediate people around him who know him intimately truly know who he really is. And while he may appear to be a good man, and I'm sure that he is, he's lived a long life. And there are things that he probably has done that he regrets doing, or have done that possibly could be attributed to this case. So what am I saying? I'm saying that Hollywood, acting, the whole industry is plagued with people who predicate on others. We're seeing it now with the actress from Smallville who is involved in a cult. We see it now with other black prominent entertaining figures who indulge in this type of behavior, who do things that we know that they're probably guilty of, but it just hasn't been shed light on yet. All I'm saying is that most of us know Bill Cosby from the TV show. So for most of us, separating the Bill Cosby from what we know to who they're saying that he is, we have to take a step back and say, we don't really know who Bill Cosby is. We only know what they gave us or what he showed us. So don't jump on the bandwagon of presuming just because he's black, he's another martyr being offered up as a sacrifice, because so many other white people have been turned in for the same type of conduct. What I will say is that while others that are white that share the same type of fame and fortune as Bill Cosby have been condemned for what they have done, they also, most of them, have admitted to doing those type of things, and they have used the ruse of it's a mental illness, or they have a sexual addiction, which is why they did so many terrible things, and they're sympathetically let off the hook. They can go to counseling and whatnot and turn themselves into rehab, and they don't see any immediate repercussions for their actions. But here we see a black man that is accused of something which he probably may have done. We don't know that. But if he did do them, he certainly didn't admit to them. In defense of racial bias, I will say that even if he did admit to them, even if he did admit to these charges that are brought against him, he would be crucified like no other. He would be crucified like anybody of color that came before him. What we have to realize that here in America and around the world is that your racial divide is a big, big counting factor when it comes to your punishment. We see it every day. Everybody is active on social media saying how disappointed they are in the racial tensions and the committed acts of murder that seem to be happening on a weekly basis here in our country, where we see a lot of young white males killing others in mass. And we see how easy it is for the media and the people as a whole to accept their insurrection, their incapability of being humane towards other types of people, and it be remorseful and it be accepted as they really do have a problem. But when black people do it, they're vilified, they're demonized. This is the thing that I was talking about. People of color, black people, anybody that's not white, you have to come to a realization that anything you do that is against the law will be upheld to the 10th degree. It's just a fact. I know people don't like to accept it. People don't want to hear it. But whatever you do will be held to the 10th degree, simply because you do not have the benefit of your skin color. And that's why we have the situations that we have now. So this Bill Cosby thing, people should not flock to the social media and try to defend somebody who doesn't really need defending. And why do I say that? He has survived a career, an entire career. He's 80 years old, of discrimination. I'm sure Bill Cosby has been discriminated against trying to better himself in his career over the time that he's been alive. It's not like he made it through the cracks and all of a sudden he's being seen as a different type of human being. He's been fighting racial discrimination for a long, long time. What I am saying here is that when you make a mistake as a minority, no matter who you are or what you have or what status you may hold, they will always, and when I say they, I mean the America, the people who uphold quote unquote justice, the people who enslaved and look at minorities as being less, 3/5 or less of human beings still today, they will always hold you to the fire. Because at the end of the day, if you are a minority and you're not white and you're very successful, you're just a person of color with money. And that's it. And so when you make a mistake, they will make it their duty to make you pay. They will not give you the same benefit of the doubt to let you off the hook. And we see that today. And that's why I say that we can continue to post and spread the word of social injustice, racial injustice, but there will come a day, maybe in my lifetime or yours, that won't be enough. There will come a day that we will have to stand up and say, we will fight fire with fire. A tooth for a tooth, a life for a life. That's what Malcolm X said. And at that time, when the Nation of Islam was in prime, there was another voice that was endorsed by the very same people who could not tolerate the sight of colored people. And you didn't ask yourself, why are they endorsing this voice? And that was Martin Luther King Jr. You have to ask yourself, why would they endorse his point of view over a point of view which at the time the Nation of Islam was very prime? Malcolm X and the Nation of Islam was teaching separation or death, a tooth for a tooth, a life for a life. If they kill us, we kill them. If they hurt us, we hurt them. Martin Luther King's voice was different. He wanted everybody in unity. Well, at that time, the powers to be had to make a choice. Who do we choose? And it was more beneficial for them to choose the voice of reason, even though they didn't agree with it. And it shows that they didn't agree with it, because that's why they ultimately assassinated Dr. King. And simultaneously, they framed the Nation of Islam with the death of Malcolm X to show that these people have no credibility. These people have no right to be taken seriously. And all was washed away. This just goes to show you how people stay in power. You have to protect your resources. You have to protect everything, your sovereignty, everything. And so while we see and while we hurt for Bill Cosby because of what we think we know of him, you just have to remember that nobody is immune to their own character. Bill Cosby probably in his heyday was probably much the predator. We don't know that. And we can't sit here and say that he is completely innocent of what they're accusing him with. But what we can say is that even though he may be potentially a person that would have done something along those lines, does he deserve to be crucified in the public media while others of his status or greater were not? That's the real injustice. The real injustice is a tooth for a tooth and a life for a life. If they end this man's career for mistakes that he could have made, why aren't they ending the careers of others who are not black, who have done the same crimes? That's what people are really upset about, because we know that injustice goes on every day. We know that our celebrities that we look up to are doing things that are not considered humane. Slowly and slowly it's coming out that they're all doing things. For us to sit here and glorify them and hold them above standards is not the right thing. Bill Cosby being convicted is not an injustice, in my opinion. The injustice, in my opinion, is that if he did commit this said crime that he was convicted of, or any others that weren't brought into light, is why is he not being held to the same standard as his counterparts who are not black, who have gotten off the hook, essentially, and who will be let off the hook? That's my point. So find it in yourself to not jump on the bandwagon to say he's innocent, because a lot of people will. A lot of us are ignorant. You know, they just released Meek Mill, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, free Meek Mill, he's out, he's out, he's out. Free Kevin Gates, he's out, he's out, he's out." But what you're failing to acknowledge is that what are their actions that put them there? I don't want anybody free that's willingly doing things that are putting their own future and safety in jeopardy. But just know that if you are a minority or a person of color, you will be held to the 10th degree than your white counterparts. That's all I have to say. Agree with me or not. I'm not here to discuss the conspiracy, if whether or not he did it or didn't. That's beyond the point. It wouldn't have gotten this far if there wasn't some truth to whatever the allegations. All I'm saying is that he was unlucky because he's not going to be given the same opportunity to save himself as his white counterparts. If you agree with that, then there's nothing to talk about. If you don't agree with that, then you must be ignorant.